fear of embarrassment, fear of loss, of course, is a huge thing to the primal brain. And the way we use that is, and I'm sure it's probably the same thing, it's consequential thinking. Because the primal brain can't think in terms of consequences. So we have to make that connection and say, listen, if you don't change this, what is going to happen? So we have to kind of poke the primal brain, the pain center, and say, look, you're doing these behaviors now. What's going to, if you continue on this course, what is going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't want to make a statement. I don't want to say, if you continue to do this, here's what's going to happen to you. Because when you make a statement to the primal brain is going to say, yes, no, maybe so, it'll start fighting you. When you ask a question, and this is the phenomenal thing, and I'm sure you've discovered this, questions lead, of course. Because when you answer a question, you're answering in your own truth. You can dispute my truth if I make a statement. But if I ask you a question, if you continue to do this, what will be the outcome? Blah, 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 blah. That's your truth. And you are in your conscious mind shifting from the primal brain now to the logical brain and going, oh my God, alarm, here's the alarm. I need to take action. And that's incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I, again, discovered that working with some business clients. I had one client, he's like, here's my business problems. I said, okay, do this, and that'll solve your problem. And we were at a big high-level executive retreat in Thailand, like $15,000 a person for this thing. And he's a big, huge 6'5" South African man, very strong South African accent. And on the third day, he came to me and he said, Les, I need to talk to you. I'm very unsatisfied with the progress we're making here. This is my mimicry. And I was so exhausted. So I told him to sit down and I literally yelled at him. But instead of telling him what to do, I said, let me ask you a question. If you continue to do this and this and this and this, what do you think is going to happen? And he went, and that was the other interesting thing. I found that my sister, for example, is a psychologist, a therapist. And I thought to change people, you had to go about it in a very clinical way, very professional, etc. What I discovered was the exact opposite. When I got really up into people's faces, if it was appropriate, because you have to be emotion appropriate, but it wasn't until I got fully engaged emotionally and then brought out high-powered, penetrating questions that we got real results, because that's what pokes that part of the brain. We got to trigger the fight, flight, or flight response to get them moving. And in fact, to answer your question, Robbie, I actually created an entire brain chart which shows what the primitive brain wants and what it does not want. And there's about 30 different items. I don't think anybody's written one before like this. Mm-hmm. So I'll have to send it to you. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, I would love to.
But you can go in there. You can go in there and you can immediately see what the heck's wrong. Oh, so that's why they're not doing
it. So that example is great. And it shows how we need to, in hypnosis, if we want people to go into a certain state of mind, we need to go there first. So if we want them to actually feel the pain of their problem, we need to feel it first. And then ask the question.
Yes.
And the way that you used your voice and your body language and how you were feeling is what helped him experience that.
Yeah. And again, the science behind that is the mirror neurons. And I'd learned that as a performer again, just observing. And I went, because you get frustrated when you're a performer and you're learning your way up and you're going, the old joke would always be, oh, I wonder if it's going to be a good audience today or a bad audience. And what I learned was there's no such thing. There's only a good or bad performer. If the performer puts themselves in state, then the audience will get in state. It's not the audience's job to get in state. Of course, you know what I mean by state, mm-hmm. Of course. Like you said, your emotions, your physiology, all those different things. But it was up to me to get into state first. And it's like saying to you can't have somebody fall in love with you unless you're in love. What am I going to say to my wife of 30 years? Gee, hun, I really like you. that's gonna fall completely flat. So yeah, you have to really go there. And I don't think sometimes people give themselves permission, because we live in a very, you know what, conformity, this is the strangest thing. We need conformity for society to exist. At the same time, the people who change the world are not conformists. And so we're a lot of times very afraid to be emotional. I get that with business people, especially. They're like, oh, what? You don't understand. I'm a doctor and I have to be professional. I go, no, you're still a human being. And I've railed away at doctors who make $1 million a year and just giving them hell. and we're not used to being talked like that. And I go, that's why you never change anything. So yeah, giving yourself that permission to let go and really connect. And again, you lose your fear when you focus on the other person. Like public speaking, the reason people get afraid is because they're being selfish. They're focused internally instead of focused on how can I help you? I'm here to save your life. If there's a car accident out front, I'm not going to worry about lights, camera, action. It's my job to help save your life. We'll worry about the makeup and the hair afterwards for the interview. I might be a little silly here, but I like to tell stories like that just to illustrate.
Yeah, that's great. And so yes, so self-consciousness is being selfish, not on purpose. It's coming from fear. But the more we can get people to be curious about other people and focused on and passionate about helping them get what they need, the better.
Yeah, and you know, I keep rediscovering this for myself because all of us, I think, is particularly in the last year and a half, have gone through periods of fears and doubts and don't know what's going on and get miserable because our businesses have been really effective for people who run businesses. But the fastest way out of that depression is to help somebody else. I mean, the minute you start helping somebody else, everything changes. You get the focus off the internal, woe is me and all this stuff. But the minute you help somebody else, all of that stuff changes. And again, such a simple little thing, but it's powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah,
that's exciting stuff.
Awesome. All right.